You'd have to have been living under a rock for the past 4 years to have not heard of a Lil Pump. But for those of you rock dwellers that are fortunate enough to have avoided this fluorescent turd, let me fill you in. Pump has only just turned 18, but chances are he's richer, more successful, and stupider than you. Very few people at 18 years old can claim to be Forbes 30 under 30, though to be fair that is in the brain cells category. Pump has famously bragged about being rich, despite not being able to read, and if his signature's anything to go by, it looks like he does find writing to be a two-handed task. But despite being a moron, you can't knock the young Finessed's hustle. According to Pump, it was fellow Miami rapper and other person that makes me regret every life decision I've ever made, Smoke Perp, who convinced him to pick up a mic. Perp got started making beats on FL Studio and couldn't seem to find rappers to jump on beats for him. Originally, Pump was known for doing a few freestyles, but had never really had an interest in getting into the rap game. But Perp kept pushing him and encouraged him to jump on his beats.
He really didn't plan on becoming a rapper, but eventually Perp convinced him to give it a shot.
And then he was like, nah bro, you better record right now. And then he just dropped the beat and I just freestyled that and I released it.
So Perp is the one responsible. He must be destroyed. Now, Perp and Pump would have you believe that they had a Steve Jobs moment and that the first freestyle that they put together was an absolute flash of inspiration that would go on to become the song Lil Pump, and they just immediately blew up off of pure talent. But what Pump doesn't want you to know is he was actually making an effort trying to rap at the ripe age of 12. At the time, he was going under the name Young C, and several videos still circulate on the internet showing him spitting terrible freestyles.
11-year-old rapper artist, all them soul bitches. Got all digits, say that 'cause I ballin' old bitches.
I mean, it's okay, but it's no Toxic Crew.
Toxic Crew.
I know it's easy to make fun of a 12-year-old Lil Pump for being crap at rapping, but when you go back and look at these videos, you can really see how far he's come, by which I mean he's moved to LA and bought a new outfit. But obviously, the official debut for Lil Pump's career was the obviously titled track Lil Pump, which debuted on SoundCloud in 2016 and blew up fast. Lil Pump followed up the track Lil Pump with several other tracks, proving that he was no one-pump chump, and every time he uploaded, he would gain millions of streams. Before long, he had a bigger buzz than taking 3 Xannies on an empty stomach, and eventually released the hit songs D-Rose and Boss, which is in my opinion his best track. Those 2 tracks picked up steam and went on to gain tens of millions of streams. Now, Lil Pump's huge popularity online attracted the attention of a little-known company called The Lights Global. Now, I know a lot of people have sat around and pondered, how is Lil Pump so big? His music's terrible. He has absolutely no talent. And all of his hit songs are just him repeating a catchphrase over and over. Well, in 2017, a Billboard article came out, bigging up the team at The Lights Global for getting Lil Pump popping by using a network of influencers that they control that has a reach of over 140 million people. And many people, such as DJ Academics, came out around this time to cover the story, essentially revealing that The Lights Global is just a smart influencer marketing agency that is able to get people popping fast.
But he's now the fastest growing hip hop artist, period, on Instagram. The fastest growing, averaging over 1 million follows per month. Not even Drake's averaging that.
Essentially, the way this works is this company has a stable of around 60 social media influencer accounts that they're plugged in with. They claim that these 60 accounts across 9 different social media platforms can get their message in front of 160 million people at a time. And so they used all of these accounts to push Lil Pump's music. In early 2017, they signed a joint venture deal with Warner Brothers Music to start a record label where they could get artists popping and get their music out. So The Lights Global got Pump popping and oversaw him signing a record deal with their joint venture at Warner Brothers. And this led up to the release of his hit song Gucci Gang, which was then included on his debut album, once again creatively titled Lil Pump, that they dropped through the label. This nailed 46,000 sales in the first week and landed at number 3 on the Billboard chart. But by December of 2017, a lot of details of Lil Pump's deal started to emerge in the public. So it didn't take long for everybody's favorite basement-dwelling record label analyst, DJ Academics, to spill the tea on the deal.
Lil Pump has signed a 360 deal with Warner Brothers Entertainment, and I could tell you off top it's a 360 because the label is going to make a cut off of his merchandise sales because he got cut a $345,000 advance as soon as he signed, which means that was the money to make his album. Apparently he's going to be getting a 15% royalty on sales of that particular album. This deal is for 5 albums, okay? Which means there's an option to continue the deal each and every time he drops his last album.
So $345K for 5 albums plus 14% on the back end. I mean, it kind of sounds like Pump got finessed, but then again, The Lights Global and Warner Brothers are the ones that got Pump popping to the level that he was popping at. But then again, if you look a little bit deeper into the Lights Global, it does make you question just how responsible they are for Lil Pump's profile. The majority of the wins that they brag about on their website are related to Lil Pump's career. Their only other signed artist is the artist Nate, N8TE, who if you Google him, you only see old tracks from 2017 and a SoundCloud account with about 7,000 followers. And in addition to this, their site features music videos from the likes of Kia Julia, who had a 3 million view debut on Worldstar, but kind of seemed to fall off and currently has only around 170,000 followers on Instagram. But then again, to be fair, that is 170 times more than I have. They've also got a music video from a guy called Ray Dub, which does have 30 million views, but that is way back in 2016. And while he's still going, his current musical output is attracting numbers more in the 500,000 views than the tens of million views. And to their credit, they've also got Zay Hilfiger and Zayon McCall with their smash hit dance challenge Juju on the Beat, which has 400 million views on YouTube. And although this is clearly very popular, I personally was delighted by the fact that I had still never heard of them. And again, to their credit, under their case studies, they've got the song Broccoli by Dram featuring Lil Yachty, and we all know how much of a huge hit that was, going many times platinum. So on the one hand, if you want to believe everything they say in Billboard, these guys are social media tech-savvy geniuses who can get any rapper's message in front of 160 million people. But then on the other hand, if you just look at the content that's there, they just seem like a pretty run-of-the-mill label that's got their fingers in a few pies that have kind of popped off. The only artist that they seem to manage is Lil Pump, and we're about to find out that Lil Pump managed to finesse them for a lot of money. On the 11th of January 2018, it had emerged that Lil Pump had successfully voided his contract with Warner Brothers on the basis that he was underage when he signed it. Pump was only 16 when he signed his deal, and his attorney sent a letter to Warner Brothers saying that that contract was null and void, which, god damn it, actually worked. Just imagine for a second being Lil Pump and having your lawyer call you and say, "Hey Pump, so yeah, we finessed them and got back all of your masters and you're now a free agent." Boy, I'd have pumped myself senseless. So around this time, any heavy hitters that had a record label begun whining and dining Lil Pump in scenes that played out on social media like some kind of strange celebrity man-on-man dating show with blunts and lean. Many of your favorite rappers were caught on social media kissing Pump's ass just trying to get a slice of his royalties. This included DJ Khaled.
I'm in that studio with that boy Lil Pump. You know what I'm saying?
And Gucci Mane. And when Pump started rocking a 1017 chain, a lot of people speculated that he had taken the deal from Gucci's label. And in addition to having his ring kissed by your favorite rappers, he was also running around on social media, constantly proclaiming that he wasn't going to sign for anything less than 15 million.
I ain't signing to none of these labels for nothing less than 12 to 15 mil. So y'all think y'all about to fucking get me for the low, y'all can go suck my fucking dick.
But by March, it had emerged that Lil Pump had settled for an $8 million bag with his original record label, Warner Brothers. He announced this on Instagram the same day.
I got $8 million for one project, and that's it.
To be honest, this seemed like a pretty wise move. I mean, Warner Brothers would have already known the ins and outs of Lil Pump's long-term career plan. They've already got a working relationship. And apparently, if he didn't sign with Warner Brothers, whoever he ended up going with would get sued into the next century by Warner Brothers. So let's be real, this does seem like a pretty smart chess move by the illiterate Harvard dropout. Now, with a finesse this juicy, it doesn't take long for the terms of that deal to end up on TMZ, and it certainly doesn't take long for everybody's favorite crusty tissue connoisseur DJ Academics to relay those facts with style.
For each year, he's gonna get a pretty, like, it's a low, like, advance, which is like a 9,000 advance for the first year, it's a 12,000 advance for the second, 15 for the third, and it goes up in increments of 3 years. He's gonna get 14% of the royalties in sales, and that's after the label recoups and all of that in the US, okay? And of course, when you think about international and per format, so who knows whether it's sold digitally, whether it's sold by streaming numbers, his royalty rates actually vary, and it goes all the way up to 66%.
You've also got to give DJ Academics credit for calling BS on Lil Pump's claim that he was getting $8 million for just one album.
Man, if you don't admit to people that that $8 million is for 7 years, man, it ain't for no one fucking album.
That is a big shining W right there. But the question is, did this work out for Warner Brothers? So, What did Warner Brothers do after copying $8 million worth of hot garbage? Well, in April, Lil Pump dropped his first single since the Finessed, the song Esquelet, which hit number 24 on Billboard and got Pump his first TV debut on Jimmy Fallon. Clearly, Pump had finessed Warner Brothers out of all the money that they had, because this was one of the most low-budget Fallon performances I've ever seen. He followed that up with a highly inspirational song, Drug Addicts, which featured a music video with a bizarre cameo from Charlie Sheen, an appearance that I feel was most likely some kind of court-ordered community service. Drug Addicts only hit number 83 on Billboard, and at this point Warner Brothers must have been sweating bullets. Though to be fair, so was Sheen throughout that video. Now for a second around this time, a lot of people were doubting young Lil Pump, and people thought that this would be his moment to fall off completely. Well, those people were dead wrong, because seemingly out of nowhere, he dropped the humongous hit with Kanye West, I Love It. This had an iconic video which weirdly debuted at the 2018 Pornhub Awards, where Kanye West was the creative director. He can be seen at the award show lurking in the shadows like George Michael at a public park, as well as posing for pictures surrounded by porn stars in a scene that's very easily confused with pictures from his wedding. Classic nepotism. Who'd you have to smash to get that job, eh? Probably Ray J. Anyway, when the music video for I Love It dropped on YouTube, it went crazy. The vid featured Pump and Ye in these weird blocky shoulder suits, which were inspired by the video game Roblox, and David Byrne's big suit from the concert film Stop Making Sense. And these two kept the buzz for that song going in a bizarre but genuinely entertaining fashion by appearing on SNL performing the song, both dressed up as a bottle of Fiji and Perrier. It's unusual to see Pump dressed up as a single-use plastic when he spent the last 4 years recycling his lyrics. Anyway, this track blew up and got 76 million views on YouTube in the first week. This surpassed the previous record that had been set quite recently by Childish Gambino's This Is America, proving once and for all that good socio-political commentary is always trumped by idiots making a fool of themselves. So this track became a successful meme and a slightly less successful song, coming in at number 6 on the Billboard and number 1 in several other countries. So suddenly it looked like Warner Brothers had a winner on their hands. That song was originally slated to appear on Kanye West's troubled and currently unreleased album The Yandy, but in the end that song ended up being number 3 on Lil Pump's second album, Harvard Dropout. Pump was originally slated to tour for that album, but abruptly cancelled it before dropping the song Multi-Millionaire with Lil Uzi Vert, a fellow tour-cancelling, fan-disappointing label finesser. And embarrassingly, that song with Uzi didn't even chart. But in December, a famous Lil Pump incident happened. Now this is just a little message to the YouTube moderators. I'm describing this story in a historical context. Please don't demonetize my video. But Lil Pump used the phrase ching chong as a background ad-lib after spitting a lyric where he says he smokes so much weed that his eyes are low like the Chinese basketball player Yao Ming. Now this is obviously unacceptable, but for some reason not a single person in Lil Pump's army of yes men decided to tell him that it would be a bad idea to debut this song on his Instagram account by singing along to the lyrics whilst pinching his eyes back to mimic did actually happen, and that clip is available on YouTube, but I don't want to get demonetized. So I'm going to play it, but because YouTube is so heavy-handed on their censorship and demonetization, I'm going to censor Pump's eyes when he does this. So you're just going to have to imagine in your own racist head what it looks like when he pinches his eyes back, thus making you the racist. All that censorship, God, it's like being in China, isn't it? Anyway, the backlash against this obvious faux pas was strong, and several Chinese celebrities came out to boycott Lil Pump. Many people began sharing on the Chinese social media app Weibo that they were flagging Lil Pump's video. A Chinese rapper called Yijay, aka Pissy, who is part of, and I shit you not, a Chinese government-sponsored rap group called CD Rev, put out a diss song called Fuck Lil Pump. And in that song he decided to take the high ground, responding to Lil Pump's insensitivity by calling him a retard. I'd also like to add the fact that the Chinese government have a state-sponsored rap group is interesting in itself. But let's not forget, it's not the first time a tyrannical communist regime has deployed rappers. Who could forget the Soviet Union rappers Lil Bread, Even Less Bread, and No Bread, who was by far the Cold War's hungriest lyricist. Anywho, Pump apologized and the song Butterfly Doors released with the ching chong ad-lib removed. Noticed how I used quote marks when I said ching chong. Not me saying it, Pump. Don't demonetize this video. That song went on to hit number 81 on the Billboard chart, as well as charting in a few other countries, notably not China. And Pump continued to exhaust his fans with music by dropping single number 6 and 7 off of his as of yet unreleased album. Racks on Racks didn't even land on the Billboard chart, coming in at number 2 on the Billboard Bubbling Under chart, and he followed that up with the Lil Wayne assisted song Be Like Me. The song Be Like Me at least landed Pump another slot performing on Jimmy Kimmel, and it looked like the label had recouped just enough money to hire a few cheerleaders and drummers, but clearly not the $7 seven figures that it cost Lil Wayne to leave his house. The concept of the song Be Like Me is calling out other rappers for being lazy and copying Lil Pump's style. Ironically, a concept and music video that seems pretty blatantly lifted from Eminem's The Real Slim Shady. That track hit number 72 on Billboard and was by no means a failure. But by the time track 7 had dropped, people had more Lil Pump fatigue than a back alley masseuse on a 7th happy ending. But all of that pumping finally led to an unsatisfying climax as Lil Pump's second album shot out of Warner Brothers like the slimy mess that it was. The album Harvard Dropout was met with mixed/negative reviews and currently holds a Metacritic average of 46%. Spectrum Culture gave it a 40, saying that it was a party album and that you should beware of any party that it's playing at. Pitchfork gave it a 3.8 out of 10, saying the album's catchphrase choruses sound like they've been written by predictive text. And Pop Matters gave it 3 out of 10, saying Pump's words were like an overused hip-hop cliches for dummies fridge magnet set. A product which I'm very proud to be putting my name behind. So Pump's second album, Harvard Dropout, was a middling success for Warner Brothers. It hit number 7 on the Billboard chart and ended up moving around 48,000 units in the first week. To be fair, that was probably helped significantly by the baked bean can bundle Finessed. But it's worth remembering that his self-titled album in 2017 sold 46,000 units and debuted at number 3 on the Billboard chart. So 2 years work, $8 million and a whole lot of heartache for an extra 2,000 units and coming in 4 positions worse off on the Billboard chart. And since that dropped, things have been relatively quiet from Lil Pump on the music front. If we're lucky, Pump might accidentally poison himself with LSD, have a spiritual awakening, and maybe end up producing some music with actual artistic merit. Or perhaps he'll bounce back with the perfect party album, chock-a-block with #1 club bangers. Or maybe he'll fade into obscurity, let the clock run out for the next 7 years on his $8 million deal, and walk off into the sunset with an unbeatable addiction to Xanax and lean. But if there's one thing we know for sure, damn it, Warner Brothers got finessed. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure that you like and subscribe below. If you've been enjoying my work recently, I would really appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon account. I'm now releasing my videos early for Patreon supporters. If you decide to sign up, you get access to a whole bunch of videos that I produced before I was going by Trap Lil Ross that are very hilarious and also very embarrassing. So I'm gonna prioritize the Patreon gang, and if you want to chat to me, definitely get in there with me and let's have a chat. So appreciate you watching, appreciate your support, and until next time, a peace out.